Good morning all. Today's topic of discussion is Digital CMOS Circuits Part 4. The objective of this lecture is to make the students familiarize with power dissipation and power delay product, that is PDP. The performance of the CMOS circuits is judged by the three different important parameters like the speed of operation, area and the power consumption. So day by day the performance demands are increasing, that is we require more and more speed, small and small area and the power consumption as less as possible. For example, if you'll take the example of your mobile phone, you require a mobile phone of slick model which has a battery which can last for more than 1 or 2 days, and at one click the operation should be completed. So all these are the same requirements, the high speed, low power consumption and the small area. The increasing power dissipation of the technical devices is the main problem, because as we want to operate the devices at very high speed, the switching speed will increase, the power dissipation will also increase. So today power dissipation is the main problem, and this high power dissipation leads to the different problems like reduced time of operation, higher weight, that is the batteries which will be required will be bulky, reduced mobility. So because of the higher or the bulky batteries, the device will become also become bulky, and hence the mobility will be reduced. High efforts for cooling will be required, increasing operational cost and reduced reliability. So we'll see the matrix for this energy and power. So energy is measured in joules or kilowatt. It is the measure of ability of a system to do work or produce a change. And no activity is possible without energy. Now we'll see about power. It is measured in watts or kilowatt, and the amount of energy required for a given unit time is nothing but the power. So this power may be instantaneous or average. Instantaneous means with respect to time, the change is considered. So the instantaneous electrical power is given as P of t. So P of t is V of t into I of t. This V of t is potential difference or the voltage drop across component. I of t is the current through the component. Similarly, we can get the electrical energy. This electrical energy is nothing but the instantaneous electrical power multiplied by time, and hence it is given as V of t into I of t into time. So electrical energy in CMOS circuits is given as power multiplied by delay. But why it is not only power, it is why the delay is also considered, that we will see. So we'll see the consumption in CMOS circuit. So we'll take the simple example of the inverter. So it is the basic unit of any CMOS chip. It consists of one P MOSFET and one N MOSFET. So this upper one is a P MOSFET which is having one bubble over here that indicates it is a P MOSFET, and this is the symbol for the N MOSFET. So this is the drain terminal of P MOSFET which is connected to VDD. So this particular symbol indicates the VDD, that is the energy which is taken from this source. So this is a energy source, and now this is filled. Now this is the source terminal of P MOSFET which is connected to the drain terminal of N MOSFET, and the source terminal of this N MOSFET is grounded. The source and drain of these MOSFETs are shorted, that is N MOSFET and P MOSFET, and we are taking the output from that terminal. This CL is a load capacitor which plays the important role in the power consumption. On the input side, the gate of both the MOSFETs are shorted and then input is applied. Now, to check the consumption of power in CMOS circuits, we will try to apply some input to this circuit. Now, this is the input waveform. The input waveform is having the transition from logic high to logic low. And as the name suggests, it is an inverter, means it will invert the waveform exactly opposite at the output. So, we will get the inverted waveform, which is nothing but the transition from low to high. So now when this particular input, that is logic low, is applied at the input, what will happen? Which device will be on? So when logic low will be applied, definitely P MOSFET will become on, and we will see how the power will be consumed. So as the P MOSFET is on, there is a electrical path for the current from VDD, P MOSFET and the load capacitance. And this load capacitor will start now charging. So the energy which was there, that is now consumed and that is stored across the capacitor CL. Okay. So energy consumption is proportional to the capacitive load. So by changing the value of this capacitive load, we can change the power which is consumed, or how fast or how slow the power will be consumed, or how slow or fast the capacitor will charge. I'll take the another condition for input, that is now the input is having the transition from logic low to logic high. Previously it was from logic high to logic low, means now we are applying logic high signal. So logic high signal is applied to the gate, means definitely N MOSFET will turn on. Now at this time P MOSFET is off. So if P MOSFET is off, there is no connection towards VDD. And now what will happen, that we'll see. Because of this on condition of this N MOSFET, can just watch what happens. So the charge which was stored across this CL capacitor will now just, it will get a discharge path through this N MOSFET and then it will be grounded. So now during this particular transition, if you'll see, there is no connection with this VDD. No power will be consumed from the supply or a source. So what these two conditions indicate? So whenever there is a transition of output from logic low to logic high, that is the previous part of the circuit, only during that the power will be consumed from the source P MOSFET and then the load capacitor will get charged. During the another transition, that is when the input is logic high, at that time N MOSFET will be on, VDD will not come into picture because this P MOSFET is off, and only the charge which was stored across this CL will discharge through the N MOSFET. So there is no power consumption during this transition. So energy for calculation, we are going to consider only the output transition from logic low to logic 1, that is the previous case. So when the transition of output is there from 1 to 0, at that time no power is consumed. Now we will consider another case. Now here you can see two inverters are same shown over here. They are having the same power supply, that is VDD, for both the MOSFETs, and the circuit is exactly same. Only the difference is, you can just see the MOSFET, that is the P MOSFET, which is shown over here. This particular MOSFET is having the bigger width. The W by L ratio for this MOSFET is quite bigger. So the MOSFET, P MOSFET is having bigger width. Only that is the difference. Now because of this difference, how the operation of the two circuits will change, that we will see. So again look at this small animation over here. Okay, so CL is same, then the supply or the source, that is also same. Only the changes in the first circuit, the width of the MOSFET is quite bigger as compared to the second one. So what happened? Now you can see the waveforms also. At time TD1, the charge which is stored across this CL, in the first case it is quite high, whereas in the second case it is almost half of that. So what it indicates? From this source, the capacitor is getting charged, and you can see the line which is shown over here, that this line is thicker as compared to this line. So this is to show that the charging current which is taken over here, that is quite high. The charging current which is taken over here is quite low. And this difference is because of the width of the MOSFET. So here the MOSFET width is quite bigger, so it can draw more current. Here the MOSFET is very tiny, the width is very small, so it can draw small current. So the first device is consuming the power at a higher rate or a speed as compared to the second one. So the charging will be there, but that is slow. Now I'll see the remaining part of the operation and the waveform. So almost now the charge across both the capacitors is exactly same, but you can just observe it at time TD2. Time TD2, this CL is almost fully charged to the value VDD, whereas the second capacitor is charged only to the half of the maximum value. That indicates this second inverter is very slow and the first inverter is quite fast. Okay, so power consumed will be same, but this is consuming the same power with small time. This is consuming the same power but with the more time. So if I will try to draw these in terms of the power consumption, how I will draw, or what is the conclusion? So same energy that is seen is ignored in both the cases. We have not considered seen. So same energy will be consumed by the load, but inverter 1 is quite faster because the load capacitor gets charged to the full level in a short time duration as compared to the second one. Now if for this circuit I will try to plot the curve for watt and time, how it will appear. For the first inverter, the waveform will look like this. So when that P MOSFET will be on, this is the energy which will be consumed, and this is the graph for the second one. It will also consume the same energy, but it will take more time. So at a particular instance, if I will check, the first circuit is drawing more current, so there is more power which is consumed, and the second circuit is consuming less current, so it is consuming less power at a particular instance. So if I will just take the height of this particular waveform as a power, so power is the height of the curve. So what it indicates, the power consumed by first inverter is more and power consumed by the second inverter is less, because that is the instantaneous power. But actually if you see through that animation, in both the cases energy consumed was almost same. I will take a second approach in which instead of measuring the height of the curve, if I will take the area under the curve, what will happen? So area under the curve for both the cases will be exactly same. So here we get a clear idea or the exact or a correct idea regarding the power consumption. So instead of only measuring the height of the curve, if we will measure it area under the curve, it will become energy, because it is power multiplied by time. So power multiplied by delay or a time is nothing but the energy consumption. Hence, for the CMOS circuits, instead of only taking the height of the curve, that is the power, we are taking energy, which is nothing but power multiplied by time, which is also called as a power multiplied by delay or a power delay product, that gives the exact and the correct picture about the energy consumption or the power consumption. Hence, for CMOS circuits, we are going to consider power delay product. So where does this power go in CMOS? So we have just now seen how the power is consumed, but that is not the total power which is consumed. So that is only called as the dynamic power consumption. So that is during the charging and discharging of capacitor, whatever power is consumed, that is nothing but the dynamic power. Now we will have the details of another ways by which the power will get consumed. That is, second is the short circuit currents. The short circuit path between the supply rails during the switching will also result into some power consumption. And the third thing is leakage. The leaking diodes and transistors, they will also consume some power. So now we will go into more details of these ways by which the power is consumed in CMOS circuits. So first we'll go for dynamic power consumption. Already we have seen through that animation how the power is consumed, but now we'll see the formula also. So the same circuit is taken over here. So when the input is logic low, P MOSFET will be on. Current will start flowing through P MOSFET and the capacitor. It will get charged and the power will get consumed. So this power consumption is called as the dynamic power consumption, and the formula is CL, that is the load capacitor, multiplied by VDD square multiplied by the switching frequency F multiplied by probability of 0 to 1 transition. So in the previous part of this lecture, what we have seen is the power will get consumed only when the output transition is from logic low to logic high. So when the other way transition is there, that is from logic high to logic low, there is no power consumption, because at that time N MOSFET will be on, there is no connection with the VDD supply, no power will be consumed. So this F is nothing but alpha into F, that is the probability, the switching frequency multiplied by probability of 0 to 1 transition. So the dynamic power depends upon the switching activity. It is the function of switching activity. Now the second way by which the power gets consumed is the short circuit power consumption. Now again the same circuit is considered, and here you can see that for a short duration, that is during the switching, NMOS and PMOS transistors are conducting for a short period of time, and there is a direct current path between VDD and ground. So why this happens? Because at a time we are saying that either P MOSFET will be on or a N MOSFET will be on, but because of the finite slope of input signal, it happens that now can just see, suppose this is the transition of input from logic 0 to logic 1. So when logic 0 will be applied, at that time P MOSFET is on, and when logic high will be applied, N MOSFET will be on. But what will happen during this transition or a slope? So during this slope, P MOSFET will try to become off and N MOSFET will try to become on. So for this small duration, both transistors will be in a on condition. And if P MOSFET is on and N MOSFET is also on, there will be a short circuit across this VDD and ground, and a direct current path will be available. So current will flow from VDD, P MOSFET, N MOSFET and ground. So this current is called as the short circuit current, and because of this current there will be a power dissipation, and that is given by the formula PSC is equal to VDD multiplied by short circuit current multiplied by the probability of 0 to 1 transition plus probability of 1 to 0 transition. Now why both the probabilities are considered? Because this condition of short circuit may happen during logic low to logic high transition as well as logic high to logic low transition, both the cases, and that's why the short circuit power is calculated by considering both type of transitions. Now the third way is the leakage. So that is the leakage power consumption. So how it takes place? So this is the a cross-sectional view of the MOSFET, in which we can see there are three different terminals. So this is the substrate, and on this substrate the diffusions are made either P plus or N plus, depending upon whether it is a N MOSFET or a P MOSFET. And we can see the three terminals: source, gate and drain. So this gate is actually isolated with the help of this SiO2 layer. So this is the ideal case, that there is no connection between this gate and the P plus or N plus diffusion on both the sides. But practically there is some leakage. So even no biasing is provided, small current is flowing from this gate to the diffusions, either the P plus or N plus. So the current which is flowing from this gate to drain or gate to source is called as the gate oxide leakage current, I gate. And there is another current which will be flowing, that is called as the subthreshold leakage current. So actually no current should flow from source to drain or drain to source in a no biasing condition, but a little small current is flowing always, that is called as the subthreshold leakage current. So because of these two leakage currents, without biasing also, there is always power dissipation taking place, that is called as the leakage power. And the formula is P leakage is equal to I leakage into VDD, and this I leakage is given as I subthreshold leakage current plus I gate, that is the gate oxide leakage current, multiplied by VDD. Now we'll see the complete equation for this power consumption in CMOS. So it will be the addition of the three cases which we have studied. The first one is dynamic power, that is given as alpha into F into CL multiplied by VDD square. So this formula already we have studied in detail. Then the next is the short circuit power, and the last part is the leakage power. Now for this dynamic power, it is around 40 to 70% of the total power consumption, and it is decreasing relatively. The second part is the short circuit power. It is around 10% of the total power. It is also decreasing absolutely. And the last part is leakage power. That is around 20 to 50%. But the important thing to be noted over here is it is increasing. So why this leakage power is increasing day by day? Because the technology scale is reducing. So we are having the MOSFET with very small size, and because of that the noise immunity as well as the stray devices which are formed, that will increase the leakage, and hence this leakage power is increasing as the technology scale is reducing day by day. So how to lower this power which is consumed in CMOS circuits? So first we'll go for the how to lower the dynamic power, because that is around 40 to 70% of the total power which is consumed. So by looking at the formula, we can find out that VDD is the main parameter which plays the important role. So by reducing this VDD, we can reduce the power consumption. But this reduction in VDD has a quadratic effect. It has a negative effect on performance of the MOSFET, especially as VDD approaches twice VT, that is the threshold voltage. So we can reduce VDD to reduce the power consumption, but there is again some lower limit on this value of VDD, because that is having some negative effect on the operation. Another way is by lowering the CL, that is the load capacitor. It improves the performance of the circuit, and it keeps the transistor size as minimum as required. And the third thing that we can do is reducing the switching activity, because again the dynamic power consumption is directly proportional to the switching frequency and the probability of transition of output from 0 to 1. So it is a function of signal statistics and the clock rate, and impacted by logic and architecture design decisions. So transistor sizing is also playing the important role for the power minimization. So if the load capacitance is lower, we can have a small MOSFET, and we can, but the requirement is we should have the to have the good performance, the requirement is size should be as small as possible, power consumption should be as low as possible. So larger size devices are only useful when interconnect dominates, and minimum size devices are usually optimal for the low power operation or application. Thank you.